As promised, or I guess not technically promised, but as stated, today we're going to be taking a look at Transformers Legacy Armada Megatron. And this is, it's basically kind of what I expected, probably what at least some people wanted. I'm kind of neither here nor there on the whole gimmicks thing, so it's like take it or leave it for me. But yeah, this is basically the original Armada Megatron with more articulation and zero gimmicks. So if that's what you're looking for, then you'll be happy with this. If you absolutely despise the the words that I just said, then you'll probably want to avoid this. But I do think he is cool for what he is. As much as I absolutely do appreciate the gimmicks that were in the original Armada toy, it was kind of disappointing how he was so much of a brick. Like, you really couldn't pose his legs at all. And you could kind of swing them out, but like that was it. And yeah, it's like he was fun in his own way, but very limited. And then of course, you know, you've got the fans hobby version, which that kind of gives you everything. You get the articulation and also size and durability, but you also get a ton of gimmicks. But you know, that's also really expensive. This is like what, like a third, I think, roughly a third of the price of the fans hobby version. So yeah, this is probably the one that's in a broader number of price ranges. And again, for what it is, I do think this is actually pretty cool. I gotta say too, something I didn't really pay much attention to until I sat down to look at this thing before filming is that there's a lot of little details on this guy that have been painted in. I think if I had to guess, it kind of feels like they took that budget where it was like, you know, leader class figure. It's not going to have all the gimmicks because of the nature of Armada Megatron. He doesn't really need to be that complex. So I feel like they made up the difference by adding a lot more paint on this guy. And not to say he's like coated in the stuff, but like there are a lot of little things that are painted. Like this orange detail up here, the black and yellow for the headlights, but also the silver on the front here. You get that on this side too. You've got everything going on up here, and like this looks like it opens, but I don't know that it does. I've never actually tried to see if this opens. I don't think it does. Let me see if I can pry this up. Yeah, no. Okay. So yeah, this deceptively looks like it pops open or opens. It does not. But either this is painted black and metallic like gunmetal, or what's more likely, it's a separate black plastic set on the green, and then this is painted in gunmetal. But either way, you've got a lot more paint up there. You've got all these little spots of silver along the side and back here, and then over here, but it's asymmetrical, which is pretty cool. And then, of course, these details going on up here. Like, there's just so much separated color paint details all over this thing that I didn't really stop to think about until I was sitting and looking at this thing. It's like, it is loaded with paint, and that's very cool. I mean, you know, I still want to get the repro label set for this guy, but I don't feel like he needs it to get more detail. I think it's just something I want to do because I like getting repro label sets for the figures I really like. And he's Armada Megatron. He is the green H-Tank thing with lots of colorful bits all over the place. Doesn't really do a whole lot because, as I said, he doesn't really have the gimmicks. He rolls really well. Like, that's shockingly good rolling for what this is. You get the turret rotation, and the turret can't actually go all the way around. It stops at about 90 degrees going left and stops at an angle going right. I have a theory as to why it does this, which I will get into when we get to robot mode, but yeah, that's weirdly limited that it can't go all the way around. The turret, the actual like barrel can go up and down. As you notice, this wiggles a bit because this is actually a separate piece. So yeah, but that can go up and down. And then these bits back here You can pop out, and unlike the original toy, these are not missiles. These are molded in, but you can angle this up kind of like that, or like this. And also you can rotate this for some reason. I don't entirely know why. Something I've also noticed is that it's really, really easy to pop this off of its little peg here. And I thought that maybe that was because it would be like a 5mm port thing, but it doesn't really work. It's just a little too wide for that, so I think that's just that the connection isn't super strong. Anyway, we'll see more of this for robot mode because it doesn't really do much good in the tank mode. But yeah, that's all the tank does. Looks good, rolls well, swivels and goes up and down, and you can angle these straight up or backwards at an angle. But it does, it's fun for what it is. It's definitely, as much as I'm not into gimmicks, I do kind of miss the gimmicks that you get with the original toy, but I've got the fans hobby version for that. Or I could, get the original toy again and just do that. So it's fine. This doesn't replace it, but it's fun for what it is. And yeah, it's totally got the obvious Megatron head sitting right there, like a pair of insect mandibles between the treads. Now, he does not come with any other accessories. I mean, I guess this is technically an accessory, but like, he doesn't come with anything else. He doesn't come with a minicon, as I'm sure everyone's aware. The fans hobby minicon is maybe a little big for him, and also he does not have any minicon ports. He's got 5mm, holes all over the place, but he doesn't actually have any minicon ports. So like this bit will not plug in here. That said, the end of the handle that you can use for the gun mode for the fans hobby minicon actually does fit into 5mm peg holes. It's not a super solid connection, like you can see it's kind of wiggling around, but if you use gravity, then it'll stay in place. But if you plug it in well, actually the friction there is actually better. So I guess just the top ones are a little bit on the slightly wider side. But yeah, you could do that if you want. Not great, but you can do it. Okay, that is it for the tank, so let us move on to our size comparisons. And this is a leader class figure. He's not massive, but he's not small either. Like, he's, I guess, modern leader, if you want to use that as like a size thing. He's big and beefy, but not like huge. Anyway, there we go. Prime, Samus, and Burnout. So there you can see how leader Armada Megatron stacks up with all of them. And now let's get them back out of the way, even though we just looked at them, because everything is fleeting, nothing is permanent. Okay. There we go. And because we looked at him last, and I was hesitant to do this comparison because we just did the comparison, but I feel like it is kind of necessary because I've said before, I hate it when channels try and give you homework where it's like, oh, I already did this, so I'm not going to do it again for this video, even though this is a completely different video. I've done it in the past. I regret doing it, but with that said, I am, as you can see, bringing in Armada Prime, so you can see how Armada Megatron and Armada Prime stack up next to each other. And I mean, it's Commander class versus Leader class. Of course, Prime is huge in comparison, but then that's when you take into account the trailer. If you don't look at the trailer, it's a little bit more, I don't know, I feel like Megatron doesn't look any bigger than Prime, but that'll change a bit when we get to robot mode. But yeah, that's how those two look together and how they measure up next to each other. And before we move on to the world's most important size comparison ever, we do have to do one more that's, some people may be interested in, and that is seeing how Armada Megatron compares to Fans Hobby's version of Armada Megatron. Here he is with Meg Tyranno, I believe is the name that Fans Hobby went with here. And yeah, it's a bit of a size difference. Just a bit. Also a bit of a tonal difference in the colors. Looking at them side by side, the Fans Hobby version is a little bit more olive and maybe yellowish in its green tones. And it has more of like a bright orange. And that's fine. I think this is because they wanted to, you know, kind of do their own aesthetic thing. They wanted to not so overtly adhere to the colors of the toy. But I kind of prefer the colors on the Legacy version because they're just a little bit brighter and more vibrant. And it's not something I really realized until seeing the two of these side by side. But, and I don't mean during this video, I saw them side by side before. But yeah, that's, yeah, this guy's still really cool. I still really like this guy, but I like the colors on this one a little better. That is not something I was expecting at first. But, you know, that's not the size comparison you all are here to see. This is the size comparison that you all really wanted to see. So yeah, here is Legacy Armada Megatron with, oh, there we go, with the duck tank. Now before we transform Legacy Armada Megatron, just want to say that if you like this video or any of the other videos that I've done on the channel and you want to support things monetarily, got a link down in the description for my Ko-fi page, so you can take a little money my way that way if you want to do that. Or if you'd rather do like a subscription-based thing, I do have a Patreon, and it's just a single $1 tier, but that $1 a month gets you early access to new videos, so you can see stuff a couple of days before everyone else. Otherwise, if you want to support the channel without spending money, which is completely understandable, you could always do the typical YouTube thing of like, comment, share, subscribe, that kind of thing. So with all that out of the way, let us turn this tank into a Megatron. So, to start, we are going to use the weird little hinge on the inside of the turret here that allows you to tilt it up like that. The reason we want to do that is so we can just kind of keep things out of the way as we're working. So, we're going to do that, and then we're going to do the legs first. And I prefer to do the feet while everything's still attached here, just because these feet are weirdly difficult to flip out. So I just want to flip those out, but they're really stiff for some reason. It's like it goes up there just fine, but getting it the rest of the way requires a lot more force than you'd expect. So with the feet done, now we can untab these panels from the back here. I'm going to untab that and then untab the leg from here and also here. Rotate that out of the way so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. How this untabs from up here and from right there. And then straighten this out like you would with regular Armada Megatron, and then this swings in and kind of tabs, clicks into place, filling in the leg there. Then you can bring the leg down the rest of the way. Same deal here. I want to make sure that you untab this from the butt, and then unpeg all of this, then bring the leg out, flip that back in and down. Then rotate this up, keeping the turret up like this so that we can rotate the upper body or lower body, however you want to look at it, around 180 degrees. And now we can bring this back down and click that back down, and then we can rotate this around to where it will eventually come around for the robot mode. Oh, also for the legs, there's a little bit of a click to get the ankle tilts going. You want to, come on. Wow, it's really locked in there. There's that one. And there we go. Yeah, it's a little bit like the Siege and Earthrise Megatron mold in that the ankles click into a straightened position for some reason. But there we go. Lower body's done. Now we can do the upper body, and it is pretty simple. I prefer to get these little flaps up a little bit to get them out of the way, because they do actually have little notches here that rest over this detail on the chest plate here. You can kind of see how that settles in there. And I just like to get them out of the way before moving what will become the shoulders, because I don't want to risk scratching that paint. So with those folded up out of the way, these panels here will swing down. They actually tab into the green pods here. So you untab those, you can see right where that tabs in. There's a little slot that it tabs into. And bring this down, and that just settles in there to kind of fill in the chest. And untab, there we go. Untab and swing it down. And now this does pretty much what you'll think. It rotates down on a double hinge with this main rotational joint here and then a secondary joint here. Bring that down, and we can bring the little flappy thing down too. Get the arms into position. Now, weirdly, the most difficult part out of all this, open up this door and then flip the arms down, but they're a little difficult to get a grip on. I kind of feel like this could have benefited from, I don't know, just like a different angle or something, maybe like a little stick out tab somewhere. It's just weirdly tricky to get these arms out of the tread mass there. And can also flip out the fist, bring this down the rest of the way, and then this will close back up, and this tabs over this here. So there is one arm, and hopefully the second arm won't fight me as much as that one did, but I doubt it. Try and bring... Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think the problem is they're a little too secure when they're pushed in at this angle. It's almost like they kind of, like they don't really click into place, but you could see there's like a little peg there that sits in here. And I don't know, it just, I just don't think these arms needed to be that difficult to flip out. Anyway, flip out the other fist and bring that down, close that up, tap that in. And lastly, for the face, the big blasphemous thing that everybody hates and I'm ambivalent towards. Despite this being molded there to look like a little sliding mechanism for the original toy, the faceplate covering Megatron's face does not actually slide down. You actually pop the chest open, fold that panel in, and then close the chest panel again. But there's that. And then you can take the tank turret and fold it around to do the standard Armada Megatron thing of having that tank cannon kind of pointing around his midsection, and there we have Legacy Armada Megatron. And he's cool. He is, you know, a little bit, I don't want to say simple, I don't want to say lackluster. He's not as wow as a lot of other figures. That doesn't make him bad. He looks great. Again, there's a lot of color on display here. You don't get any paint in the arms, which is a little bit of a disappointment. I feel like they probably could have done some of that, but it probably went elsewhere. And, you know, I feel like you got the black on the toes, the silver, and the asymmetrical silver and black in the shins, and the pinkish orange lights or whatever on the waist, and the silver midriff and all that. I feel like with everything that they did do, it's fine. And like the silver up here, yeah, like it's fine. Doesn't necessarily need to have a lot more painted detail up here, but it's, given how painted everything else is, it seems a little bit like we're missing out, but at the same time, I don't expressly think that he needs it, because there is a lot of color on display here. And weirdly, that neon orange, it's less visible in the robot mode. I mean, it is visible. You get some in the waist, some up here, and these little bits here, and like these bits around the neck are that color for some reason, which is good. I mean, you know, does make him pop a little more, but I don't know. But yeah, he looks good. There's, you know, there's no kibble here that shouldn't be here. Like, you've got the tank turret on his back, but that's supposed to be there. That's part of his design. And he looks good. There's a lot of really nice molding. I really dig that they did the asymmetrical thing all over him. Like, the thighs are symmetrical, but like the shins are asymmetrical a little bit. Like, some of the detailing is the same, but then like from the knee down to about here, you can see this is a bit different than what's going on here. The overall shape and silhouette is practically the same, but the individual like molded bits are different, and I like that. And it holds true to the forearms as well, where you've got this molded detailing in here, but completely different molded detailing here. He's got the open hand kind of mimicking the toy's goofy claw hand, which it is what it is. I get it. I think it's cute, but I don't know. I feel like it's not entirely necessary, but it's what they did. And even the chest plate has asymmetry on it, where the molding in here versus here is a bit different. I don't know. I just think that's cool. I like it. And it's a neat design. I like this design for Megatron. There's something about like the shape and the colors, the beefy tank tread shoulders, the green and purple and gray overall color combination. It works really well for him. And I really like the cannon sticking out around his midsection. I just think that's a cool look. And yeah, he looks really good. I don't know what else to say. I like this figure, even though the transformation is really simple. I think it accomplishes a lot. Now the head it's Armada Megatron. He's got the big old antlers, and I like that they did the darker gray with that very, very neon orange around the trim. That looks great. Actually, looking at the face, it is appropriately grumpy, and it's a fun helmet shape too. I like that you've got the silver face kind of nestled in all this multi-layered black armor bits for the helmet, and then you also have the metallic blue up here that stands out a lot. And those red eyes also look appropriate. And I also really like that they left this unpainted. I just like how this breaks up the metallic blue there. It's a good looking head sculpt. He does have the horns are soft plastic. Also, it goes all the way to the back. That's cool. The horns are soft plastic, so they're a little bit flexy, and they're not glued in. You can actually unpeg them if you want. I do not want, but you can do it. Get back in there. Get back in there. All right, hang on a sec. Okay. So yeah, I don't know. I understand why they're soft plastic. I kind of wish they weren't, but whatever. Now the articulation is the thing that's both the main draw of this guy for me and also a bit of a weak point. The head's on a ball joint, as you kind of saw, so you can look up and down a bit, and you can tilt left and right a bit, and of course turn 180 degrees, or 360 degrees rather. The shoulders. This is the thing that many people, including myself, are kind of disappointed about. Because of the way this whole assembly is designed, you cannot move the arms backwards at all. They will not move backwards. This whole assembly does not rotate around. It only can do this. And that just stinks. I've been contemplating getting that Sam's Forge upgrade kit that allows them to rotate like that, but I'm not entirely sure yet, because I don't know if I want to sink a little bit. I don't know if I want to sink the money into it. Not that it's super expensive, but it's more like the time and effort into changing the shoulders. And also, I don't know how that may affect stability when he gets inevitably combined with Tidal Wave. So we'll see. I don't know. Maybe I'll get the upgrade kit. Maybe I won't. For now, I'm holding off, but I am seriously considering it. But yeah, this doesn't move at all. So instead, you can rotate the shoulder here. It's one of those assemblies that's a little strange, where like the actual rotation is here. It's connected to this green piece. So it rotates up and around like this and can go forward, but it just can't go back. So with that in place, you can get the arm out to almost 90, and it can go forward to 90, but you can't go back, and that is the biggest disappointment for me. But you do get a bicep swivel, and you get a slightly over 90-degree elbow bend. Oh, no, okay, never mind. You get more than 90, I just wasn't pushing it far enough. so you can actually get a pretty deep elbow bend. That's cool. The hands, despite them being, one a fist, one a claw, they both do rotate. And if you really want to, you can bend them in on that transformation joint. We get this out of the way. You get a waist swivel, and it will knock into the tank turret, but if you rotate the tank turret kind of up and out of the way and use this joint, you can go all the way around. So there's that. And then the hips, actually we'll keep the tank turret up like this for now. The hips can go forward that far on a bit of a soft ratchet, though if you bring them out, you can go up a little further. Then they can go back like that if the turret's not in the way, but if the turret is in the way, they get stopped there. They can go out, presumably, oh yeah, they can go out well past 90, but you've got to contend with all the stuff in here, so it'll probably look ridiculous if you try to go out that far. Then you get a 90-degree knee bend, all on these nice soft ratchets, and also you can go forward slightly if you want to do that. There is a thigh rotation, and then the feet, as we showed before, can bend quite a bit, and I like this detail here that is exposed when you bend the ankle in. That's cool, but you don't want to push the ankle in all the way, otherwise this will click into place and you have to disengage it again. And if you want to, you can mess around with the heels, push them down, or push the toes down, but can't go up. So, all things considered, pretty poseable. Now, he does do the thing. That is the thing that a lot of people were curious about, I think, when this was first announced. He can do the thing. If you rotate the cannon turret out of the way, you can take the upper part of the torso, and this is a very stiff joint, but you can rotate it around 180 degrees. Then we swing this up out of the way. Now we have the room to rotate the waist around 180 degrees. And so it kind of cheats by doing a midriff rotation, but it gets the turret on this side, so you can do the front gun thing, which is extremely silly. And I actually really like this. This is how I've had him displayed. I've kind of had him how have I had him? It's like something like this with like the heels a little bit and with the fists tilted up, and had him tilted back a little bit more. So I've had him just like doing this ridiculous thing because it's silly and I love it. Now this is what my theory is for why the tank turret doesn't rotate a full 360 and why it actually has that stopping point. Because if you notice where the rotation stops, you rotate it this way, it stops there. If you rotate it this way, it stops there. Notice how the cannon can't line up with his, let's say, waist section. Now, I might be overthinking this, but I kind of don't think I am. I really do suspect that the reason this can't rotate around 360 degrees is because they didn't want people to do anything lewd with the cannon. Because even if you take this joint into consideration, that should have no bearing whatsoever on the rotation. That has been expressly designed so that that cannon cannot end up lined up with this. That has to be what it is. And it is ridiculous, but I can kind of understand at the same time not wanting to give people the opportunity to do that. But one other thing I forgot to mention, this bit that we showed off in tank mode is a little bit more relevant in when you do this, because then you can have it pointed out like this. So he's got all of his artillery pointed forward with no possible chance of it ending up in an inappropriate location on his person. But yeah, it's fun. It's silly, but it's fun. I do dig that a lot. But for now, at least, going to rotate everything back around so that he's in his more typical, let's say, orientation. Because I still think this is the coolest display option for him. But I do appreciate the silliness of the other option. Also, one other thing I need to talk about is I guess this is Evo Fusion, I don't know. The thing with the barrel that you can pull off, you can flip either one of his hands around, it works for either one, and plug this into his hand and give him a cannon fist, cannon hand. And sure is a thing you can do. Can you plug it in this way too? I think you can. Yes, you can plug it in this way, so if you want it to be shaped a little differently, you can do that. You can plug this in there if you want the tank barrel to be shaped a little differently. But I, again, prefer to that way. Yes, I know I'm boring, but I just think that looks cool. You may also notice how annoying this is. I have tried tightening those joints. It has not helped. I've tightened the screws that are back there on both of these. It helped briefly for one of them, but then nothing. I tried tightening the joint with floor polish. That did nothing. It's just, this sucks. I really wish this could somehow click or soft lock into place up in this position. I feel like if they couldn't give us the rotation up here, the least they could have done is have this kind of fit in place a little bit more securely, because this just... You can give him sad shoulders if you want. But, I don't know, like, as much as I might be complaining about this, I still do really like this figure. And, also, I keep saying also because I keep forgetting other things I want to talk about. We were talking about the Fans Hobby Minicon. This will actually work with the fists. If you have one, you can just plug this in. It won't sit in the fist all the way. It only goes so far because of the tab on the back there that's designed to slip into the channel of the palm on Meg Tyranno. But it does sit in there pretty securely, even though it doesn't go in very far. Like you could see, it's not getting knocked out super easily. So if you wanted to give Armada Megatron a Minicon and you have the Fans Hobby version, this will do the job. As I said, it looks a little big, but I think that's fine, you know. I don't really think that matters. I am curious to see, though, if we end up getting a Galvatron version of this that might come with a Minicon. Because they did something similar with Hotshot. We shall see. But beyond that, we need to move on and talk about size comparisons. So let's bring in Artfire and Rotor Storm again. And here I think you can see, like, yeah, the tank was not small, but like this is where you get a little bit more of that leaderness from the figure, because he is definitely noticeably taller and bulkier than the Voyager and Deluxes. Though a lot of that height is shoulder. But you all know me and my love of big shoulder pads. Just can't help it. It's probably something that's been burned into me since youth because of Metroid. So there is all of that. Here is Armada Megatron with Armada Optimus Prime. And they look very, very nice together. I dig that. Prime is, I think he probably qualifies like a tall Voyager, somewhere in that neighborhood. So that is how they stack up together. And actually, while I'm thinking about this, I should have done this sooner, but oh well, we're doing it now. Since we're talking about leaders and Voyagers and all that, why not? Let's real quick bring in Legacy Dreadwing so you can see another leader class Legacy figure next to Megatron, and they're pretty much the same size. I mean, same height, I should say, same height. Megatron looks a little bulkier, and I feel like if you're looking at them, it's like, well, where's the money going here? Why is Dreadwing so much slimmer and just tall, and Megatron is so simple? And yeah, best I could say is I'm pretty sure a big factor with Dreadwing is Dreadwing's engineering is a lot more complex than Megatron. I mean, I don't think Megatron is like, you know, ridiculously simple, but he is simpler than Dreadwing. So there is that to consider. All right, let's get Dreadwing out of here and do the one more Legacy comparison that we got to do, and that is with Armada Prime again, but this time it is the fully combined mode, which, oh boy, let's do a lot of adjusting here. Armada Prime is tall. Let's see here. Yeah, raise that up. Stupid broken tripod. There we go, that's better. So yeah, there is Armada Megatron with Armada Prime in his super mode, and there you can see that that's quite the size difference. It's a bit more of a dramatic size difference than it was between Megatron and non-super mode Optimus Prime. But I suppose it's good that we did all that adjusting, because we have one more big fella to look at, and that, of course, is Fans Hobby's Meg Tyranno. So there we have, I'm gonna have to readjust this again. Here we have Legacy Armada Megatron with Fans Hobby Meg Tyranno, and I'm just not gonna get the whole thing in shot, I don't think, but there is how those two measure up. And yeah, as I said before, this thing is like 3 times the price of this, so of course this does more. It offers more. It's really chunky and sturdy and fun and cool looking and has lots of posability, loads of posability. It's got gimmicks and it's great, but it's like 3 times the price of Armada Megatron. So I feel like it ultimately comes down to what you're looking for and what you're comfortable spending, which is kind of, I think, what it should always come down to when it comes to this kind of thing. Don't be like me. Don't spend outside of your own means. That is a lesson I learned the hard way when I first got back into all this. Anyway, personal baggage aside, let's get to the meat of all this. So here is Armada Megatron with, there we go, with the duck tank. And that does it for Legacy Leader Armada Megatron. And as I said, I do actually really like this figure. He's not what I would call like the most essential thing. He's certainly not the best Legacy figure or best Legacy Armada figure that I've had. I feel like, you know, I feel like that has to go to Prime, or at least the Armada stuff. But he's still good for what he is. He is good. He is fun to mess with. He is, like, I actually do appreciate his simplicity. Meg Tyranno is incredibly cool, but he's also a lot more involved. So messing with Meg Tyranno versus messing with Legacy Megatron is, you know, it's a bit of a different beast. So I do appreciate how I can just grab this guy off the shelf and mess around with him, and it doesn't take as significant a chunk of time. But that is enough about what I think. As I said, great figure, great paint work, all that stuff. Just the shoulders really are the biggest disappointment for me. But what do you all think of Legacy Armada Megatron? And maybe, fingers crossed, a Legacy or Generation Selects repaint of Galvatron, possibly with a mini-con, I don't know. This is just speculation and hoping on my part, but, whatever your thoughts, feel free to chime in down below. I always enjoy hearing from you all. Thank you everybody for watching, and I have no idea what the next video is going to be, so it's a mystery to me as well as it is to you right now.